It's Tuesday afternoon at 4 p.m. in Switzerland, and it's Space Café WebTalk time. Our Space Café WebTalk 33 minutes with Yvette Gonzalez will begin soon. Thank you for joining us for this exciting and very unique event. We also expect a very informed audience for this event on citizen science research can save the world. But we will not stop here. We will go far beyond. As always, we really appreciate your ongoing feedback. I'm Torsten Kriening, your host today and co-publisher of SpaceWatch.Global. We are a Switzerland-based online platform for information in and about space and new space activities in a geopolitical context. I know many of you already know our website, our bi-weekly newsletter, our daily newsletters, or our Space Café podcast. We are proud as we just published this morning episode 4 of our podcast featuring Roxy Gülmester from Foster and Partners about life after COVID in space and on Earth on all major platforms, podcast platforms. Check it out and leave us your comment at podcast@spacewatch.global. We are keen to get your feedback or your rating. And of course, you know our web talks. If you missed any of our previous web talks, we have an archive available on our webpage in the event section. We host our Space Café web talks on a weekly basis. This is already the 11th edition. I hope you mark Tuesdays at the same time in your calendars. Our upcoming lineup remains just outstanding. And with that, today I'm very honored by a very special guest, someone really inspiring, and after these 33 minutes, you will know why. But I think most of you came especially for that to this event. I'm proud to welcome my good friend Yvette Gonzalez today. Raised on the border of Texas and Mexico, Yvette is a human resilience, human factors, and space sustainability expert. With 22 years of international development, humanitarian, and emergency response experience rebuilding communities in active war, conflict, natural disasters, and epidemiological outbreaks. Sorry for that. It's a hard word for me. I'm not used to that. She now adapts her skills to space science, technologies, and policy research. Yvette is a second-generation American of Native American and Mexican heritage. And why this is important, we will talk about later. She is an active member of the International Institute for Astronautical Science, IIAS, International Astronautical Federation, Women in Aerospace Europe, Association of Spaceflight Professionals, the Lunar Exploratory Analysis Group, LIARC, and the Moon Village Association. With women-owned, minority-owned, hub-zone small business, she continues humanitarian missions in complex contexts and is eligible for aerospace and space-related contracts and research projects. While she currently pursues her Applied Astronautics certificate with the IIAS, she holds in whatever an MPH is from Columbia University in forced migration and here it comes again, say it again for me, please.
Epidemiology.
Thank you. Of HIV and AIDS, BA in Multinational Organization Studies and French from St. Mary's University in Texas, and a degree from a university in Strasbourg in France. She is a scuba diver trained, a classical trained soprano, and an avid explorer. And I have to say, we're very sorry we will not hear her sing today, but maybe in another edition. With that, I'm handing over to you, Yvette, to hear more about PoSSUM and the citizen science research.
Thank you, Torsten. And yes, as a good friend, I really appreciate the welcome, and I appreciate your team for this forum, the dialogue, and it's been really fascinating to follow the last few weeks. So thank you for that, and thank you for the production team that's helping us. Today I'm going to introduce, I think, something maybe of a demystification for a program called PoSSUM. And I have some slides to share. I don't know if we can get those up. And basically, I'm part of what's called the International Institute for Astronautical Sciences, IIAS. And 5 years ago, they started a program called PoSSUM, which stands for, and stay with me, Polar Suborbital Science in the Upper Mesosphere, and basically brings together citizen scientists who study noctilucent clouds, which are basically ice clouds in the Upper Mesosphere. And we do that because there's a commitment to the predictability of climate change and how these clouds can tell that story. I don't know if the slides will be put up, or are they up? Do you see them?
With the magic word, next slide. This magic happens.
Next slide. So I started this program 2.5 years ago, and basically you start with bioastronautics, and they have an introduction to pressurized suits. Now, the program is international. You can apply from all over the world. And when you're accepted, everybody has to do a ground school 1 week course together. And this is typically in Florida. That is 1 week of intense learning how to put a pressurized suit on, how to work in an aerobatic environment, which teaches you G-force, gravity force on your body, simulations, and you actually go through a very intense 5-day period where you're thrust into this world of bioastronautics and learning about your body and how it works and what it feels like to be exposed to these new environments. Let me look here. I think I can't see these slides. Voila. The work that you see here is because when you start PoSSUM, you have the opportunity to go down different journeys. You can study extravehicular activity, which is what I do. You can study aeronomy, which is what a lot of our pilots and a lot of our students study. When you take this track, you choose your track, you then start getting certified and knowing very in-depth that topic. So in fact, what you see here is the Apollo site in Flagstaff, Arizona, where the Apollo astronauts were trained before they went up for their historic work. And we're able to create geological tools, test them, and then how would that then transfer to the next slide?
That is a cool site where they have done these cool movies.
Oh yeah. So actually, if you go back, I'm so sorry.
Production back. We didn't train that, but
back. No, movies were not filmed here. However, if you all the photos have the site, the volcanic site, San Francisco volcano site outside of Flagstaff, really near to the Grand Canyon, actually halfway between. But the one in the middle top is Cinder Lake, and that was a simulation of the lunar field. There was actually calculated and controlled explosions to create and mimic the moon surface to do a lot of the training. So a phenomenal aspect of PoSSUM and the training is that we actually go to a lot of these sites. We train with professors and astronautic experts who actually have worked with NASA and on site where this is taking place. So pretty phenomenal research and science that we're doing on the ground in real time. Okay, next slide, thank you.
Who is Scott who is answering the questions that are coming in here? That's pretty cool. So it doesn't need our attention.
I don't need to do it.
Okay. So because we got the question how to apply to this program. So
I will get to that.
Yeah.
So you actually can take those tools that we develop in one course, and then you follow EVA 101, 102, 103, 104, and there is a progression of your expertise. But what happens is you also create a tool in one course, use it in the field to simulate grabbing some regolith from the lunar surface and how you would do that and what kind of tool is the best case scenario, how you would improve it, innovative ideas. And then months later, we actually go into a course that takes place in Montreal in Canada. And this right here is what you're seeing is we test those tools now in a pressurized suit environment. Can the gloves help you grasp those tools? Can you function and operate and pay attention in a multitask environment? And as you see me hanging there, this is a gravity offset. PoSSUM offers the opportunity to train as if you're on the lunar surface, and then they change it to Martian surface, and then to microgravity. So what you see on the far right is working on the panel in microgravity, simulated, so that you get a feeling of what is it like to be outside the ISS and operate and fixing. So it's a pretty phenomenal kind of experience to have access to this kind of research, science, these tools, and the people.
So this hanging out, you call gravity offset?
Yes.
That's okay. So next time I'm just hanging out somewhere and it's my gravity offset. Cool. Learned a new word. That's great. You always need it.
Environment yourself. Let's see the next slide. Yes. The other pretty incredible access that we have is to microgravity in the sense of a parabolic flight. So parabolic flight, as some people know, is the vomit comet. It's when you get in a plane. Here we're in Canada, again in Ottawa, working with the NRC, the National Research Council of Canada, and they have a Falcon 20. And instead of being decommissioned, this wonderful team of people at the Canadian Space Agency came together and said, why don't we use this for research? Because there's a lot we can conduct. So we do all of our science research, and we test the pressurized suit. So you see the blue suit that I have on here. I got trained with a team to be a pressurized suit technician. So that's one course you can take with PoSSUM. You have access to that. And this is an IVA, which is intravehicular activity suit, versus extravehicular, and there's a difference. You can get trained in both. But here we test, as you can see in the middle photo in the top, we go up in the plane, and basically we climb for about 20 seconds, and then we free fall for 18 seconds. And we do this about 11 to 18 times, depending on how much time we have in the airspace. And every time that we free fall, we go into microgravity. And as you can see, all of these the experiments that you see in the bottom, you can't see the food. We literally can we have food in there. And you record. We have GoPros, we have cameras, and then us. And we record what are the effects of microgravity on all these fluid cells, food research, and the human body in a pressurized suit. And then on the right, I have that bandana on, and this is part of research for the biomonitor that will, as you can see, there's a panel in the middle, and then the one I have on, and it registers oxygen level intake, heartbeat, and carbon dioxide levels. So we're constantly testing what is it that will be beneficial in space. How do we get the best possible research done that will help us with items and experiments in science that can be published, contribute to real science in real time, and even this was deployed a few weeks later to the International Space Station. So we're contributing in ways that are really tangible and beneficial. Next slide.
Looks like a pretty cool fashion thing.
A fashion thing?
Is this bad?
Oh yeah, very ninja. But I have to say, that's also part of the research. Is the design comfortable? Is it sustainable within a pressurized suit environment? Does it move around? That band is helping to keep it where it's supposed to be placed on your head. Is it accurate reading? So here I just wanted to say, I was very quick with the description because I really want your questions. And I think often about, in perspective, what access we have through PoSSUM. And because there's so many people from around the world, I really think that this statement is more true than ever, that it isn't about, I mean, there's over 100 people right now and many cohorts with PoSSUM, but it's really about all of us, our desire to participate in a voyage of discovery, and that's really what you experience. I'll stop there so that we get to questions.
Okay, cool. So then let's go ahead. Thank you, Yvette, for this short introduction. I mean, we have to have the first question, and please, if you want to if you have a question, please put it into the Q&A. Otherwise, we have prepared a few questions, so we will not fill it in with silence for the next a minute. So, PoSSUM sounds super fascinating. I mean, even so, I'm not the guy for the 0G stuff, but let's put it aside. The question we had earlier, can can anybody join?
Yeah.
What do I need? And how deep has my pockets to be?
Very, very good questions, and definitely the most important. One, yes, it's accessible to all countries. There are some limited with ARTAR and restrictions for the US because it's based in the US, but that's very minimal. Otherwise, it's welcoming. Right now, we have more than 46 countries represented. So yes, non-US citizens definitely can apply, and we encourage you to. This is about also engaging emerging space nations, so definitely. What you need to apply, there's going to be a minimum. So when you come into PoSSUM, they look at it in two categories. Do you have a STEM degree, an active background already? Or are you an undergraduate, have yet to get your STEM degree, or come from a different multidisciplinary background that doesn't necessarily constitute STEM? And they accept both, but they categorize, and you come in two different classes. So there's this understanding that everybody has to have a basic knowledge of math, trigonometry, and they will ask you. Minimally, they would like for everyone to have some scuba experience or be in the midst of getting their scuba or planning to do it within that first year. And to that extent, you have that dialogue with the evaluation committee to get in, because you are going to be in a pressurized student environment. That's a big part of what we're testing. And they want to make sure you're comfortable and that you understand how to pressurize, depressurize, you understand what's happening to your body. And scuba is one of the best training grounds for that and the best skill set.
Did you had a chance to test these cool new SpaceX suits as well?
Oh, I wish.
Damn.
Actually, to that point.
Isn't Zalando selling them already?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I haven't looked. I have a long to-do bucket list. Actually, we work with Final Frontier Design. And Final Frontier is based out of New York. This team, phenomenal team, has put together a really wonderful design. And from the gloves to the suit and the flexibility and durability, we actually are the training ground for them too to test in different environments. I mean, we do egress testing in a pool and being exposed to chlorine, and this all helps with the design of the suit. So no, I haven't been in many other suits. I mean, I'm open to it.
Yeah. Got it. So let's pick up a few of these questions that can come in from you. So what kind of experience do you need to be part of these astronaut programs with no experience? And are there tests for knowledge?
So Roberto, thank you. That is a really good question. No, you don't need to have a specific experience. In fact, the beauty of PoSSUM is that you have pilots, teachers, engineers, artists, musicians. We have such a diverse background. You have medical doctors, you have epidemiologists, humanitarians, and the kind of binding factor of PoSSUM is to show that science needs everyone. And so no, you don't need a specific background, but when you come in, you are receiving textbook knowledge, you're receiving high, I would say, integrity education, and you have a cohort of peers around you who are helping you to, if you feel lost, they find you. Very accessible knowledge.
Did you answer the commercial question already?
No, what's the commercial?
Okay. Just asking. No, I mean, can you give us an order of magnitude or what an individual has to invest in these kind of courses?
Okay.
I mean,
so,
we all know that space is not cheap, so.
Yeah. I have to say, for as far as I'm aware today, this is one of the most affordable programs that you can be part of. One, because it doesn't all happen at one time and you're not mandated to do it all in one compact year. You can take these courses. They're offered annually. You take them when you can, when you have time, and when you can afford it. The first courses, all courses range between $400 to $5,000 US. And that's because some of them are online. So some of them are online 101 courses that don't involve being in person. And then some of them are highly technical microgravity flights. That's a highly technical. Access to something very rare and unique. And yet it's still subsidized. So you pay far less than you would pay going on your own or going to another institute to do so.
Okay.
And you have the opportunity to get funders. We welcome if you have somebody, your university funding you, private funders, we certainly welcome that.
Let's move on a bit on the topic, and I think we will keep a few questions that you can remain them, or that you can answer them later on, and we can send them in the email shot on, I think, Thursday or Friday out to you, with also the references where people can find more information. So as the title was, Citizen Science Research Can Save the World. How is it possible?
So, this was that existential question.
Yeah.
And in this context of what's happened and how commercial space has now just opened up a new frontier, a new ripple effect in the industry. The citizen science that we conduct, and I see a question about this anyway, the impact is that we actually are contributing to one deployable science. If we are conducting research and you see it on the International Space Station a few weeks later, that's a phenomenal and productive contribution to science in a real way.
And it feels good, I'm quite sure.
I'm sorry?
And it feels good, I'm quite sure.
It's actually kind of the tingling, bumps on your skin, pride that you're part of something that's not just a hobby, which it can be, but that your hobby is real and that it's a passion that you have and that it actually means something to feel like maybe your day job is that you are teaching and you're educating young minds, but in your side time, you are able to contribute as a scientist because that's what you are at heart, and that's what this allows. So a lot of our science is used for different research institutes. We have it combined with other organizations that we collaborate with MIT, we collaborate with Embry-Riddle, we collaborate now with Florida Tech. And we have a long line of partners who come to us because they want to test their science with us. Okay.
Would like to use the remaining time for talking about the stuff we chatted about in our pre-talk. So one point I would address the general question is space science still relevant any further for us? Is a world that is in a world as we have it today dominated by COVID or the aftermath of COVID or any other escalation? So why is space science so important for us?
I think about this all the time. I thought about it when I joined PoSSUM, and we talk about this with each other. You think about the history of space science, and I think sometimes we're not aware, even I wasn't aware, of what that has had as an impact on our world. Excuse me. I think about the food industry. Had it not been for the Apollo and Gemini programs, the food industry wouldn't have stringent standards, and the way that we can and process food for safety has been revolutionized by those who worked in the food industry in NASA for the programs, and that thwarted us forward. You think about low-hanging fruit, satellite technology. How does the space satellite technology have an impact on my life? Well, I can tell you, working on several programs and being a humanitarian in my past, what happened 20 years ago when I arrived in Africa for the first time in my first program, and I had to help communities, refugees, revive their livelihoods when I didn't know how to predict their crops or help them in that way. Today, I could at least harness them with the knowledge that I'm going to make Wi-Fi available, I'm going to make this data available to you, and then you can do predictability about weather. You can know what crop season you're about to face, and then you can plan your livelihoods around it. These are the small things, right, that happen. Satellite imagery, as you know, has a huge impact on finding new urban development, informal settlements that we couldn't have even known existed. So it's very important to know that space technology isn't for the sake of space only. It serves so many layered uses for us on Earth.
I think the more specific question is, do we have to send human up into space to do this science? Because all you mentioned were just our effects of our technology we have in space using on Earth. But that's a detail level I don't want to go in right now, because there are a few more topics I would like to at least touch. I mean, equality is one of the big topics, and we discussed it with Vera a few weeks back. Now the situation in the US escalates as we see day by day. Can you tell us more about your own experience as you wrote it in your own CV, or as a Latina growing up at the border? And I do have this question from Carl here in the Q&A. What is your space superpower as a Latina? I think that falls into that category here as well.
Oh, so there's a few questions there, but I'll answer. I've gotten this a few times. The superpower, for me, coming from, I acknowledge my roots, because I think it's very important. And I do come from a Hispanic background, a border culture. And I have to say that community, large families, ruckus, hectic chaos is a beautiful thing to be surrounded by, because it teaches you so much about human behavior. So even my earthly power is that I genuinely adapt quickly to different cultures. And I think it's important to understand what that means in the context of space and of the program, together with so many people in different cultures. For what's happening now, I would say so many things have happened this year, backdrop to what we're seeing, right? As an MPH, Master's in Public Health, Master in Public Health, I look at this from an epidemiological standpoint. COVID's here, we have protests, there's an active engagement of people, and I see it as a revelation and a reckoning, and I think that spills into every industry, for people in every industry. Part of what I love doing is working with so many cultures to learn the things that I don't know, to share the things that I've experienced to benefit somebody else's science and their studies and their focus. It's important more now than ever to be open and exposed to each other in a way that you can revel in all of the things that we bring to the table. I find it extremely fascinating to continue to learn from a pilot, just as much as I feel it is to learn from a musician, because it helps with space. Is it a unifier? I absolutely think so. And if PoSSUM is any reflection of that, you have in any given class that you saw in those photos, you turn around and you have a diversity of age, gender, culture, language, and to know that we're all actually just contributing to progress. That's kind of, for me, the bottom line.
Okay. My final question is the following: is space uniting us? Is space uniting us now? And think about your answer. I mean, we have the Artemis Accords, we have the executive order played out by the American president, we have kinds of space forces, not just in the US, around the world, Russia, France, we have NATO in this game. And I mean, we talk a lot about space security related issues here in the WebTalk. So, and with that background, I'm asking again, is space uniting us?
So my overarching answer is yes. I say that as a realist and an optimist, but I say that as a realist because I see it. I'm bearing witness to programs like PoSSUM that are uniting different perspectives, are making innovative strides in technology because we're listening to each other. I see a lot of efforts from different organizations that are really focused on emerging space nations, new space nations, and really trying to make sure youth is involved, girls are involved, women are involved, bringing in nations that have not signed the outer space accords, and they are really making an attempt to how do we really bring together at the forefront the people that we need to contribute to progress. And that's on Earth and in space. But yes, it's a unifier.
Okay. And follow-up question, because I see a number of people asking similar questions here, and I know we have a huge community that following us in India and in Pakistan. Are those countries entitled to enter PoSSUM, or are they excluded by the ITA restrictions you mentioned before?
I have to look at the list. I don't know the updated list.
Okay.
There are some that are restricted, but certainly only because of that.
Okay.
But not because we don't want everybody. We do.
No, but politics has a say in that, I think.
Yeah, politics has to say because of where we're based out of, right? We're based out of Colorado in the United States. And a lot of the work we're trying to do is how do we ensure the next Elon Musk, the next Mae Jemison, whoever, where are they from? And we want them not to have that barrier. So indeed, the director and the team are always paying attention to how can we create access for people who deserve to have access, and that's everyone.
Yeah. Great. And with those final words, I say thank you. I'm afraid we have to come to an end, even so I would enjoy continuing this exciting talk. And just for the audience, as a background, I think we had spent 2-3 hours in discussing what we would like to say here in this 30 minutes for you. So that's Yvette is a very inspiring person to talk to, I have to say. So thank you for being on my show.
Thank you for having me.
For all of you, be sure that we will follow up on space and equality, especially in our Space Café WebTalks and on our magazine, of course. 2 special events we planned for you. One is together with For All Moonkind and the Mississippi University of Air and Space Law. It's about the race in space, and it will be a conversation about equality and civil rights on the 18th. And the other one will be a special edition of our 33 minutes with Michael Kuipers, and that will happen on Asteroid Day, the 30th of June in the morning. So we still try to find or confirm the time, but pinpoint 10 a.m. are in your calendars. So, and it's the next slide. And our next webinars are on the 16th of June. 2 guests, the first time in my web talk, Dr. Regina Pelsos and Mark Becker from DLR Space Management. And I will discuss with them space a dual use future, without question mark. So make out, that will be an interesting one to see the role of military development in space. On 23rd, we had to change my guest. I will welcome Jessie K. Chingler from the Open Lunar Foundation and to talk with her about lunar policy issues, including safety zones. And if you have registered for John, your registration remains valid and just got transferred. For those that are already registered. And on the 30th of June, again, as a first-hand announcement, Dr. Bladen Bone will be my guest to have a chat about his new book, War in Space, Strategies, Superpower, Geopolitics. And it will be released on that date. So that's why we picked that. The book sounds like a do-it-yourself handbook, but let's see what it will be. And please, again, in the morning, we will have the Asteroid Day session with Michael Kuipers, and then in the afternoon at 4 p.m. With Bladen Brown. All the events are on Eventbrite, and as always, we would like to hear your feedback. So please check in with us on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Don't forget to sign up to our daily or bi-weekly newsletters. We really need your support. Also, as potential sponsors of these web talks here. So please get in touch with us if you can. Thank you very much for your interest today. And thank you, Yvette, again for this exciting and inspiring talk and being my guest today. And it's interesting to see the questions are still coming in, and there's a bit of work for you later on to answer them. But I think we can group many of them together. And thanks again to my entire team behind the scenes for doing that great job week by week again. I hope you all will stay safe and stay healthy in these challenging times. Thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you next week. And in the meantime, visit our website and follow us on social media. With that, thank you very much and goodbye. Have a great day. Ciao.